Okay, Shalom, my dear friends. So, we mentioned that essentially Sefirat HaOmer is purifying all of existence. And we're going to spend time, Mitzvah Shem, next week going through the details of the different spheres and the different personality traits that we're going to be refining, going through the different weeks, going through basically group therapy, and showing how this is a time of tremendous transformation. The Rashash essentially says your whole year is based on these days. It's a time of din. It's a time of really judging, are we living up to the responsibility that we have to refine out all the tumah, to refine out all the impurity, to refine out any negative, bad character trait, and to really become more refined human beings. And therefore, part of the din of these days is, are you doing the personal growth work that you should be? Are you going through that process of refinement, both on a localized level and then on a global level? Are you doing things that are helping humanity in those particular ways? And it's a sequence of these 49 days, perfecting 7 sets of 7. So we're going to go more into those details next week. Today we're still introducing the enormity of what we're doing. And we mentioned yesterday, just briefly, that there's 3 energies that we're connecting to every time we say Sefirat HaOmer. Essentially, we're drawing down 3 very powerful energetic concepts. And we have to know what those concepts are, and we're going to go through them one by one. So, the first concept that we draw down in Sefirat HaOmer is we're drawing down the concept of Pesach. What are the psukim, what are the verses in the Torah that relate to Sefirat HaOmer? It's very important to know that. So it says, V'yedaber Hashem al Moshe lemor. And God spoke to Moshe saying, Daber al b'nei Yisrael, speak to the nation of Israel. V'amarta aleim, tell them, Ki savayu el haaretz, when you come into the land, asher ani noisen lochem, that I've given you. It's important, we're reading from the Torah, and this is a Torah that will not be changed. And the Torah itself says that it won't be changed. And it's a miraculous thing that in all the Torahs that have been found in the history of the world, there's only been slight single letter changes, and even the letter changes were never meaning changes in a single word, and they were only letter changes that do not even change the meaning, and particularly Vav and Yud. Sometimes those letter changes can affect the meaning of the word, but they're letter changes in a word doesn't change the word or the meaning of the word. Very, very. And we're talking about handwritten. Handwritten. That is, it's mind-boggling. If you just sit and meditate on that. Most people don't spend so much time just sitting and meditating on something because it's something else is buzzing them somewhere else. So to sit and meditate on that is mind-boggling. And therefore, we have to pay serious attention to that when we have other texts that are coming later, claiming that something is being usurped, and those texts are vastly different, with humongous sections removed, changed, personalities gone, inserted, from testimony of one or a few people, you have to pay attention. We're dealing with a very different story here. We have the original text, mega intact. And you have to think very hard about that. So we're reading from this text. When I bring you to the land, asher ani noisen lochem, uketzartem es haktzira, and you cut. You're cutting now, you're reaping the harvest. Veheviesem els oimer reishis ketzirchem el hakoyin, and you bring the first cutting to the kohen. This is going to be the korban Omer. What day was this brought?
The first day of Pesach?
That night. So it was brought the night after the first day of Pesach. And what happens with this? It's a barley offering. What happens? They bring this barley, they bring it to the Kohen in the Beis HaMikdash. V'heinifis HaOmer lifnei Hashem. And he shakes, he waves, just like Ludlav and Esrog, he waves the Omer. Lifnei Hashem, this is not talking about something physical, but he's in front of Hashem. Lifnei Hashem means in the Beis HaMikdash. Lifnei means that you're encountering the panim of Hashem. Hashem doesn't have a face. A face is physical. But when we say panim, panim means that someone is radiating blessing and love towards you. When you say someone's facing you, it means that they're interested in you. Somebody can be facing you physically, but they're like, so they're really faced away. They're disinterested in you. It means they've really turned around. That's called achor, spiritually. Panim means I'm interested in you. Achor means I'm not interested in you. But maybe there's some other reason why you serve me, so I keep like back attention on you. But I'm not focused on you. What's a good example of something you're not even thinking about, but you kind of are, and your kind of back is on it, but you're actually, there's a reason why it's there. We're sitting on a chair right now. You're not thinking about it, but just, you're not like, I'm on a chair, I'm on a chair, I'm on a chair. Like, Baruch Hashem, I'm on a chair. It's achor, it's there. I'm not putting conscious, and it's fascinating, it's literally in your back.
Like breathing.
Well, breathing is fascinating because breathing is a bridge. It could either be panim or achor. You could either not be interested in it, or you could put focus in it. That's why breathing is the bridge of all meditative systems, of the parasympathetic nervous system and the autonomic nervous system. Central, meaning that which you control and that which you don't control.
Central.
Parasympathetic and sympathetic.
Parasympathetic. So I don't know people that can control their heartbeat. I'm saying like beat, beat, beat. There's certain yogis out there and certain great Kabbalists that could do that. I know there are Rabbi Dov Ber, definitely up there. There are certain people that can control certain things, like peristalsis. There's certain physical things that we say are happening naturally. There's things that you could do to help it, calm it. You could run faster, but to go from no heartbeat to beat, that's quite hard. Breathing is also fascinating that it happens naturally. But at the same time, you can completely put it under your control. So it's the bridge between the subconscious state and the conscious state. So breathing is a very fascinating, it's very deep meditative. Every single meditative practice in the world has breathing as a core. That's why I would always say that people who breathe deeply live deeply. A lot of breathing is happening just, which means you never fill up your lungs with air, which means it's all just like dead, stale air at the bottom of the lungs. You have to learn how to, the first part of breathing is actually blowing out all the toxic air that never got filled up at the bottom. And then when you make a bellows and you breathe in, now you're filling the whole lung cavity with the good. And that's what you want. So lifnei Hashem is a place of attention. Is that I bring the Omer lifnei Hashem, where Hashem is putting a lot of attention. That's why when you would come to the Beis HaMikdash, you saw open miracles. Hashem was showing, I'm very interested. You could tell when someone's attracted, they show interest. All of dating is about being lifnei, showing panim, as opposed to achar. Achar means disinterest, and panim means I'm actively interested. I want you. I'm attracted to you. That's why nowadays there's such a thing, like if somebody gets a check or a like or someone showed interest. Even just that gives them like a boost because they feel that's like some level of panim, like some acknowledgement of interest. Now we want to have much deeper levels of interest. So in the Beis HaMikdash, you felt the interest of the Creator of heaven and earth. Liritzoinchem. And Hashem will gain favor when we do this. We're going to talk about this. Is all connected to us saying Sefirat HaOmer. Mimocharas HaShabbos, you bring this on the morrow. That sounds very biblical. On the morrow. The day after Pesach. The first day of Pesach, not after the seventh day. The first day of Pesach is which day? So that's actually not an incorrect answer because there's many reasons to say that Yud Daled Ben Nisan is also like Yom Tov, and it's like half Pesach, half Chol. That's why you already shach the Korban Pesach. You can't eat chametz. There's Isser chametz. There's Isser malacha. You're supposed to say Hallel when you bake matzah. It's like already Yom Tovish. But I would say, like in a pure biblical sense, Pesach begins on Tesvav, the 15th day of Nisan. And therefore the 15th day of Nisan is day one. So what's the day after? And the days begin in the Hebrew calendar at night. So what's the day after? The 16th. Starting that night, that's when you bring it. Now, it says here, from the day after Shabbos. So the Gemara says that the day after Shabbos is referring to Pesach. That Pesach is called Shabbos. It's important to know that. Pesach is called Shabbos. Yenifenu HaKohen, and the Kohen will take this barley offering and wave it in the Beis HaMikdash. We start Sefirat HaOmer that same night that they bring this barley offering, which means we're connecting ourselves to the energy of Pesach, and we're connecting ourselves to the energy of this offering. And it goes on. Ve'asisem b'yoyim hanifchem es ha'omer, and you do it on the day that you wave the Omer. You also bring a kevis tamim. There's an additional korban that you bring, ben shenosai la'oila l'Hashem. You bring an oila, u'minchosai, and a mincha. You bring a flour, a meal, vegetarian offering, vegan. Shnei esroinim soilas belula v'ashemen, a geschmacka, flour, oil, good. Mixed with oil. Ishel Hashem reach nichaya v'niskar, and then a wine libation, rivi isahin. Fine. That all accompanies coming to the Beis HaMikdash with the barley offering. Now this pasuk is very important. We learned it this morning with the Chevra. V'lechem v'koli, bread. Koli means the toasted grain in the field. The caramel, it's interesting, it's called caramel. The plump kernels. The plump kernels of the field. Loi soichlu, you're not allowed to eat them. Ad etzem hayoyim hazeh, until this day, i.e. the morning. Ad haviachem, until you bring this Omer. Es korban elokeichem, until you bring this korban. Chuka soilam, this will be an eternal decree, which means until today. L'doirei seichem, for all the generations. Bechol moishvei seichem, wherever you're dwelling. So let's just give the context. What's happening? All the new crops, all the wheat, all the barley, all the spelt, the rye, the oats, the kamut, the geschmacka, ancient, all the grains of the land are all waving in the field, fresh. Nobody's allowed to cut any of the fresh crop. You can't cut anything. The whole crop in the land is just waiting in the field. Not one person could pluck. On the night after the first day of Pesach, when you take the first cutting, this is the first cutting, Reishis Ketzirchem, you bring the first cutting. Now you could imagine the entire nation's is excited for these plump kernels in the fields. I'm hungry for the plump kernels. The field of plump kernels. I want to make some organic sourdough, rosemary, challah situations with plump kernels. Nobody could touch anything. Where does the first cutting of all the grain in Israel go? It's brought to the Beis HaMikdash, and it's elevated to Hashem. Now just meditate on this for a second. The symbolism of this Omer and how deep this is all about Sefirat HaOmer is that what the Jew is saying is that all of the fantasy and all of the Apple Vision Pro fantasy universe that I've been living in, that I thought that I own. I heard that's the top thing nowadays. Somebody said to me, he's like, Rebbe, I have one in my house and I didn't even put it on. I was like, that's a lot of being a gibor. You gotta be a big gibor. He's like, it was tough. I don't know how far they've taken it, but it's probably up there. So all of the fantasy world that I have in my head, that any of these grains are growing because of these biceps, and because of my agricultural prowess and my industrial technological abilities and this innovation and that innovation, all of that is all fantasy. Everything in the land is growing because Hashem is allowing it to grow. I'm just a shaliach. I'm an agent of Hashem to just help it, but I'm not doing it. Even my own hands and my abilities and the words coming out of the mouth are only being powered by Hashem. I couldn't speak anything. That's why in the beginning of Shemon Esrei, what are the words that you say? Hashem sifasai tiftach. Hashem, you open up my lips. Ufi agid tilasecha. That my mouth can say your praises. So Rabbi Dov Baron and I used to have a meditation where we would begin. You begin Shemon Esrei and Hashem, open them up. If I still think I'm opening it, then it. Let me know that you're opening it. So imagine at that moment, nobody's touching a single grain in the entire land. They come to the Beis HaMikdash, the Kohen takes the first that's been cut in the land called Chadash, and just, Hashem, all the grain in the land is only because you're letting it grow. At that moment that we get that absolute clear consciousness in us, so that second they send out a tweet, everybody knows that they brought it. Yeah! Now you can harvest all the grain.
What would happen if someone harvested grain before that happened?
Also, Chadash Asr min HaTorah. And the idea being is that you're denying that we need to first acknowledge that this comes from Hashem. All of the efforts come from Hashem. And then the pasuk goes on, Usfartem lachem, and you should count. We say this in the beginning of Sefirat HaOmer. Mimocharas HaShabbos, from the day after Shabbos. Here we go again. We're talking again about Shabbos, which is Pesach. Miyoim aviyachem es ha'omer, from the day that you bring the Omer, hatanufa, sheva shabbosai, 7 weeks. Oh, now all of a sudden the korban, the Sefirat HaOmer is linking us to 7 weeks. We're in this journey here. Temima is tiena, 7 perfect weeks. Ad mimocharas Shabbos hashvis, until after the 7th Shabbos, tisperu chamishim yoim. Count 50 days. V'ikravte mincha chadosh al Hashem. And now you bring the mincha, a new mincha to Hashem. Which essentially means we're now connecting through Sefirat HaOmer to 3 energies. Pesach, which we'll talk about what Pesach means. And every night when you count the Omer, you're connecting to these 3 energies. Pesach, the actual Omer we just mentioned, about bringing the barley, and that consciousness, we can't do anything without you. All of our bank account, all of our everything, is only because you're imbibing it with life. That consciousness, it's all from you. And the energy of Shavuot, the 50th day that we received the Torah at Mount Sinai. Those 3 energies we're just going to go through one at a time. Over the next few days, we're going to go into the 7 energetic powers that we're here to cleanse during these days. And Mitzvah Shem, that will get us ready to welcome Mashiach as we continue to purify ourselves. And we should see blessing and peace in the whole world. We should be Zoicha Mamish to the Binyan Beis HaMikdash, B'meher v'yameinu. Amen. Have a wonderful day, my friends. Kol Tuv.